Good evening, Madam President. It is 6 p.m. I started the recording.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Welcome, everyone. It's going to be a nice short meeting. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Howard.
Please turn on your mic, sir.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we please remain standing for a moment of silence and reflection of what's going on around the world today? Most importantly, what's happening in Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Burton. Dr. Henderson.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here.
Mr. Levenstein.
Here.
Ms. Maida.
Here.
Ms. Mineo.
Here.
Mr. Stridiron.
Here.
Mr. Walker. Ms. Green.
Here.
This is our only item. Resolution to approve the removal of a policy from the policy manual. I'd like to entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Mr. Levenstein, I see your hand.
Thank you, Madam President. So this question is for Mr. Forget, I believe. So could you please explain why the district needs a board meeting and a resolution that we are voting on to remove the mask requirement in this district?
Sure, Mr. Levenstein. If you remember back early on in the pandemic, in August of 2020, the board created a health and safety measure during the epidemic and pandemic policy. That particular policy governed the wearing of masks, and it was a board policy that mandated mask wearing. So based on the fact that we as a district had a board policy, we're obligated to follow that policy. The CDC provided recent recommendations for the option for mask wearing in schools, as well as Governor Hochul yesterday provided an opportunity for option of mask wearing in schools. In order for us to take advantage of the direction being provided by the governor and by the CDC, we must eliminate the board policy in order to accept those new revisions or considerations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Forget. That was really good to hear. Mr. Howard, I see.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. In light of what's going on and what has been passed down from the governor, what's been passed down from the federal government, I think we're doing the right thing. But I do have a question. I think that it should be left up to the parents. Parents will still be able to send kids if they want to have masks on. They can do that, but it will be something that it will be a parental decision. I'm hoping, and also, does this will we be doing anything in regards to the 3-foot distancing protocols, or is that being lifted? Everything is being stripped, or will there still be some type of protocol for the 3-foot or 6-foot rule?
Mr. Forget?
Yes, so Mr. Howard, specifically, it is clearly stated in a letter that we have prepared to go out to all of our families in the community that mask wearing would be an option. For scholars, it would be based upon conversation and decisions by the parent. The parent will choose whether the student wears the mask or not. We also have embedded in the letter to please encourage conversations with children and with students to talk about choice. So if a student is wearing a mask or if a student is not wearing a mask, be respectful of the decision and the choice, because we don't want someone bullied or intimidated based on a choice. This is something that we will support. We will not be asking why an individual isn't wearing a mask. That is not in the future. We anticipate that not being our role. That will be for students, the parents' responsibility, and for individuals that work in the district, it will be their responsibility. With regards to the additional mitigation factors, such as you mentioned social distancing, We anticipate additional guidance being provided from the New York State Department of Health and the governor's office before Wednesday, so that we can address those concerns and issues. And we have that in our letter as well that will be going out to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Levinstein, before you go, I'm going to call on Mrs. May to give her a chance for.
Thank you, Madam President. I just have a question. Will the teachers have any say, for example, in situations where it's very close, large groups of children, can they ask the students to wear a mask, for example, in a chorus situation or in a large, gym period, that kind of situation?
So I'm sorry, Ms. Mineo, may I respond?
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead, Mr. Ford.
So we reached out to the Fine and Performing Arts Department at the State Education Department, and they are going to be getting back to us with regards to chorus and band and instrumental. The guidance they provide will be what we will follow. The New York State Public High School Association, Athletic Association is also meeting today, and we look forward to continued direction from them tomorrow with regards to athletics. But can a teacher require a student to wear the mask? Not in general, and not in the general session
Right.
if we adopt this.
Thank you. That was going to be my concern also, and I'm glad we're hearing from, people around the state about music, chorus, instrumental, band, and physical education, as well as sports and stuff.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Levinstein, I'll get to you. I have a couple other hands. Dr. Henderson.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I just wanted to comment and say that I 100% agree with the motion to remove the mask mandate. I think it's a great thing for our scholars, and our kids have really, battled hard throughout, all these years now throughout the pandemic, and very proud we'll be able to see some smiling faces. I did want to make a quick comment that I do think we should stress to our staff and to our scholars, as well as our parents, that there are some other mitigating ways that we can reduce transmission of pretty much most illnesses and viruses and flus and everything like that. And that is to continue to hand wash specifically is probably the most important thing we can do. 90 to 120 seconds with hand soap, warm water specifically, because that's been scientifically proven to help eradicate the germs off of the hands, as well as hand sanitizing. I really think we should make a push that these practices, as well as sneezing into the elbow, should really be pushed. If there's anything we learned over the last couple of years, it's that any way that we can mitigate germs and viruses, we definitely should. So if we can make sure that our students and staff and parents are aware of that, I think that'd be a great thing. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson. Those are great suggestions. Mr. Walker, I see your hand.
Yes, just a quick question. I tend to agree with Dr. Henderson as well, but my question is there any truth to the fact that if you wear a mask, you're not really protecting yourself, you're protecting the other person? Another person?
Mr. Bear or Mr. Walker, I could do some research for you on that.
Because I tried to find the answer.
I'm sorry?
I tried to find the answer, and I don't know myself.
I will defer to the State Department of Health, and we'll send that out in a request for a response and get it back to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Levinstein.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm glad to see that it'll be mentioned that students shouldn't be bullied because they may decide to wear a mask. But the question I have is, reading through the governor's statement, people on buses, the way it's written, are still required to wear a mask. So does that include school buses? So
Mr. Levinstein, at this point in time, The CDC, I believe, has made a determination on that or a recommendation. We are waiting for final determination from the state as to whether school masks need to be worn on the buses. We hope to have that response by tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard?
No, Madam. Thank you, Madam President. So I was just going to say that I concur with Dr. Henderson. I think that's something that we should continue to do because now we're in a different place than prior to the pandemic. We know certain things that we weren't aware of before. So I think continuing with certain protocols as far as washing hands, sneezing, stuff like that should be continually taught and have conversation around. But bigger than that, my next question was about this transportation. So as of today, as of March 2nd, well, let me back up. We contract through the bus companies. So they would not go under our direction. They can come with their own direction. And if so, when that answer comes back, wouldn't that be kind of talking out of both sides of our mouth in regards to you still got to leave your house in the morning with a mask, but then you have a choice to take it off when they come to school? Is that what we're potentially dealing with?
Ms. Mineo, I defer to Mr. Shaw. We had a conversation about this earlier.
Great, thank you. Mr. Shaw?
Thank you, Madam President. So the CDC did issue guidance to say that you would not be required to have masks on school buses. So that's a change from their order. The governor yesterday was somewhat ambiguous about that. And as Mr. Forget said, we're expecting guidance, and it may very well be that there will not be a mask requirement on buses, but we really want to hear from the executive on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Ms. Green?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make sure that all these changes will go into effect on Wednesday, March 2nd, not tomorrow, but Wednesday, March 2nd. All of these things will be in effect, correct?
Ms. Green, that is exactly what is stated in the letter, effective March 2nd, 2022.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Walker?
So will this mean we'll have another meeting? Because I'm wondering if we're not trying to do the best thing, but maybe a little bit too soon at this point.
I'm wondering, I'm asking.
Can you rephrase your question, please? I'm not sure what your question.
My question is, are we perhaps jumping the gun today instead of waiting to hear what the state and other things, other agencies say? Because I'm hearing like, oh, as soon as we hear from the CDC, as soon as we hear from the state, and what am I supposed to do with that information?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Mr. Shaw?
By repealing the policy, you'll be able to follow the guidance from the state without having another meeting. And if it's a mandate, then administration will be duty bound to follow that. However, if you don't repeal the policy, then the restrictions are going to remain in place until after March 2nd, and that may create other problems.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Levinstein?
Thank you, Madam President. So I don't know if this is the proper time to bring this up in reference to the school board returning to in-person meetings. And if it's, I'm not looking to introduce any kind of resolution, but I would just like to ask that we have a discussion at our next meeting and to go forward and see if that's something that's possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm writing that down in my notebook to talk about on Friday. Thank you. Mr. Forget, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Mr. Walker had mentioned. I think one of the intentions of this policy, of this change by Governor Hochul, is to put the decision-making back in the hands of the local school district. This allows us, if you eliminate this policy, this allows us to follow the guidance that's provided by the New York State Department of Health, as well as the governor's office and New York State Education Department, and react to that upon receipt of their recommendations, as opposed to waiting for a change to go through the board. It gives local control back to the individuals that are educating our students.
Thank you, sir. I keep us, in the loop of information, as well as the parents and the teachers and the staff that needs to work with this. So I'd like roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Green,
We're voting on what now?
we're removing the policy 8132.
Yes.
Dr. Henderson,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein,
Yes.
Ms. Maida,
Yes,
Ms. Mineo,
Yes,
Mr. Stridarn,
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes.
thank you, everyone. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting, please.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Dr. Henderson,
Yes.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
Mr. Levinstein,
Yes.
Ms. Maida,
yes.
Ms. Mineo,
Yes.
Mr. Stridarn,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Green.